In this video, we are going to be learning about the reciprocals of the three trig functions that we already learned about in a previous video. So as a quick reminder, you've already looked at SOHCAHTOA. We've already practiced sine, cosine, and tangent. So today we're going to learn the reciprocals of those. So we have cosecant, secant, and cotangent. And we're going to take those one at a time and analyze what they are and what they mean. Okay, so first, sine. We remember sine is opposite over hypotenuse, and we have this one, cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, and you remember from what you've done in the past, reciprocal just basically means flip the fraction upside down. So sine is 1 over cosecant, it's going to flip cosecant upside down, and cosecant is 1 over sine, it's going to flip sine upside down. So what I want you to write on your paper is cosecant, which is spelled like this and abbreviated like this. And because it's the reciprocal of sine, we basically just take this fraction that we already learned and flip it over. So cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite. Pause the video for just a second and write that on your paper. Okay, let's practice that. So we're also going to look at this little character right here. This is the Greek letter theta. And very often mathematicians will allow theta to stand for the angle. Instead of using a capital A or M like we did before, often they're going to use this Greek letter theta. So that's something we need to be familiar with. And if I look at this triangle right here and I want to know the sine of my angle theta, well, I remember from before, so sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite is across from, that's going to be 9. And hypotenuse is the one across from the right angle. There's my little right angle mark. So the hypotenuse is 15. And then we're going to simplify that. 3 will go into both 9 and 15. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 goes into 15 5 times. So my simplified fraction will be 3 over 5. Okay, let's do cosecant. So cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. It's basically just sine upside down. So in the numerator, we're going to have hypotenuse, which is 15. And in the denominator, we're going to have opposite, which is 9. And then again, we'll simplify that. Dividing both by 3, I get 5 over 3. So I can see that sine and cosecant are reciprocals of one another. Sine has the 3 on the top and the 5 on the bottom, and cosecant has it the opposite way. Okay, let's look at the next one. Cosine. Cosine was adjacent over hypotenuse, and the reciprocal of cosine is secant. So secant is cosine upside down, cosine is secant upside down. So what I want you to pause and write on your paper, secant, which is spelled this way and abbreviated this way, is cosine upside down. Secant is hypotenuse over adjacent. It is the reciprocal of cosine. Now, it may seem a little bit tricky that cosine goes with secant, and back here, sine goes with cosecant, like they don't match. But that's actually what you can use to help yourself remember. Remember that cosine does not go with the co. Cosine goes with secant, and sine goes with the co. Sine goes with cosecant. They're backwards of what you expect. All right, let's practice that one. We're going to use that same triangle. So cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent, you remember, is the side that's next to, but not the hypotenuse. So cosine of theta, adjacent, is 12. And then hypotenuse, the one across from the right angle, hypotenuse is 15. And we'll simplify that. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 3 goes into 15 5 times. So the cosine of our angle theta is 4 over 5. Now, secant is going to be the reciprocal of that. Secant is going to be hypotenuse over adjacent. So I'm going to go back to my same angle theta. The hypotenuse is 15. And the adjacent, the side that's next to but not the hypotenuse, is 12. And if I simplify that, 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 goes into 12 4 times. And so I can see that cosine and secant are reciprocals of one another. Basically, they flip each other upside down. All right, and the last one, TOA, is tangent. I remember that tangent is opposite over adjacent, and the reciprocal that goes with tangent is cotangent. So that's a little bit easier to remember. They seem to go together better. Tangent and cotangent go together. And here is the phrase that I want you to write down. Cotangent, which is spelled this way and abbreviated this way, is adjacent over opposite. It's the reciprocal of tangent. So adjacent in the numerator, opposite in the denominator. Pause the video for a second and write that down. Okay, here's our same triangle. Here's our angle theta. So let's find tangent. Tangent is opposite, the one across from, over adjacent, the one that's next to, but not the hypotenuse. So opposite over adjacent. In this particular case, tangent of theta is going to be 9 over 12. Okay, so let's do the same thing for cotangent. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. So for cotangent, I'm going to get adjacent over opposite, 12 over 9. And I'll simplify both of those, dividing by 3. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 goes into 12 4 times. And then for cotangent, I'll simplify both of those as well. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So for tangent, I got 3 over 4. And for cotangent, I got 4 over 3. They are reciprocals of one another. They flip each other upside down. Okay, let's look at this in a triangle such as this. So this is a question that I copied off of Delta Math. I have triangle KLM, and you can see right here, KLM, and I've got the measures of an angle and 3 of the sides. So ML is 55, KM is 48, and LK is 73. Okay, and remember from our previous video, if I wanted to call those just by one letter, the side that's across from the angle shares the same letter, but it's lowercase. So this one will be M, lowercase m. 48 is across from angle L, so it would be lowercase l. Sometimes we make that cursive so it doesn't look like a 1. And then across from angle K, you got it, that is lowercase k, the side of 55. Okay, so suppose I asked you, as they do here, for the cosecant of angle K. All right, look back in your notes. What is the abbreviation for cosecant? Right, it's CSC. You can see it right there. So cosecant of angle K. All right, so let's think for a minute. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Sine was opposite over hypotenuse, so cosecant must be hypotenuse over opposite. So let's go to our angle K right here, and let's do hypotenuse, which is here, over opposite, which is the across from, which is here. So hypotenuse over opposite, 73 over 55. And this one does not simplify, so we have completed that one, 73 over 55. Okay, let's do secant. This particular question didn't ask for secant, but we're going to practice it. So secant of K. So here's my angle K. Secant is the reciprocal of which one? Look back in your notes. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Cosine is adjacent over opposite, so therefore secant must be, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So secant must be hypotenuse over adjacent. So here's my angle K. Hypotenuse is here. Hypotenuse is 73. And then adjacent, you guys remember adjacent means next to but not the hypotenuse. So from angle K, adjacent is here. Adjacent is 48. And then again, that one does not simplify. All right, the last one, you probably already guessed, the last one is going to be cotangent. So cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So therefore, cotangent will be adjacent over opposite. So looking at angle K, adjacent is here. So let's put that. Adjacent is 48. And opposite is 55. 48 over 55. And that one does not simplify either. Okay, so that's cosecant, secant, and cotangent. All right, let's practice one last time, and let's see what happens if instead of using angle K, we use angle L. All right, so we are going to find the cosecant of angle L. We are going to find the secant of angle L. And we are going to find the cotangent of angle L. Oops, I have an extra letter in there. All right, let's see what we get for those three. Okay, so look back in your notes. Cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of which one? All right, it's the reciprocal of sine. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so therefore cosecant will be hypotenuse over opposite. So let's go to angle L, hypotenuse, which is here. Okay, so let's write that down, 73, over opposite. So if I go to angle L, the side opposite angle L is 48. Okay, so notice that the cosecant changes depending on which angle you're looking at. That's important. All right, secant of L. What's secant the reciprocal of? All right, secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Cosine, ca, adjacent over hypotenuse. So secant will be hypotenuse over adjacent. All right, so come to angle L. The hypotenuse is 73. And the adjacent, the one that is next to but not the hypotenuse, is 55. All right, and then the last one we have here, cotangent. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so cotangent will be adjacent over opposite. So I'm going to go to angle L right here, adjacent, that's this one, next to but not the hypotenuse. Adjacent over opposite. Opposite is across from, so here's the opposite right here. 48 is the opposite. Okay, so look at this just a second because this is going to be important in a later section. We know that the angles of a triangle add up to be 180 degrees, right? And this one's 90. 180 minus 90 is 90. So L and K add up together to be 90. We don't know what either one of them are, but we do know that if you add them together, you would get 90. And look at what happens. The cosecant of this one and the secant of this one are the same. So when the two angles add together to be 90, the cosecant of one is equal to the secant of the other. And you can see that's true if we look at this one. The secant of one is equal to the cosecant of the other. And then the last one, let's look at tangent and cotangent. Do you see that cotangent of one is the reciprocal of cotangent of the other? So when my angles add up to 90, those are called co-function angles. And we're going to learn about that in a later section, but just notice the relationship between the trig functions, that the secant and the cosecant of the co-function angles are the same. Cosecant and secant of the co-function angles are the same, and cotangent of the co-function angles are reciprocals.